Planning and zoning meeting to order. Will everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A roll call. John Matthews, absent. Terry apparently is absent. Bukowski.
I believe Stephanie just went down to get him.
Oh, so he's going to be here? Okay, I'll leave it up. Mark Danny.
Here.
Alex DeMauro.
Here.
Wolf Smith. Here. Rocky Hempel.
Here.
Jeanette Holloman.
Here.
Jeff Spink. Here. Non-present Steve Rosenthal. And if Terry is here, then we have 8 members present. Do we want to wait then until he comes up here for the election?
Yeah,
Good.
should be here in just a second.
Okay.
Couldn't get in.
Okay, and you're here, so I'm going to mark you as present.
Thank you.
Okay, election first chairman. Motion.
Make a motion that we elect Steve Rosenthal as chairman.
I'll second it.
I appreciate that. But I appreciate if someone else did it too. We have a motion on the floor with a second. Appoint me as chairman again. Is there any discussion?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You do a good job.
Well, thank you. But I think other people here could do a good job. So, yeah. Okay, roll call vote. Terry Bukowski,
Yes.
Mark Danny,
Yes.
Alex DeMauro,
Here. Yeah, I mean, yes.
Will Smith,
Yes.
Rocky Hempel,
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
and I'll abstain. So we have 7 yeses and 1 abstain. Now, vice chairman.
I nominate Mark Denny as vice chairman.
Second.
A motion on the floor with a second to appoint Mark Danny as vice chairman again this year. Any discussion?
As long as Steve's here for every meeting, I'm good with it.
I'm not here for everything. Roll call vote. Terry Bukowski,
Yes.
Mark Danny,
Abstain.
Alex DeMauro,
Yes.
Will Smith,
Yes.
Rocky Hempel,
Yes.
Jeanette Holman,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-1 abstained again. Okay, we have a motion on the last month's minutes. That'll be June's minutes.
Make a motion we approve last month's agenda, or last month's minutes.
Okay.
Second.
How do I know you were going to say? We have a motion on the floor with the second to approve June minutes as written. Any further discussion? None. Have roll call vote. Terry Bukowski,
Yes.
Mark Danny,
Abstain.
Alex DeMauro,
Yes.
Will Smith,
Yes.
Rocky Hempel,
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman,
Abstain.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Carries 5-2 abstain. Secretary's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have 2 cases on the consent agenda. We have 4 cases on the regular agenda. One of those cases was continued from the June 10th Planning Commission meeting. That's really all that I have. When you approve the agenda, you will be approving the 2 items on the consent agenda.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve The agenda for July 15th, 2020.
Second.
And Terry, was that you?
Can I ask a question about one of them?
Sure.
On the Oaks subdivision, it says there is currently no fire hydrants, but they could be installed. And then on the deal, it says there's no water. Just basically, I want to ensure that they would get proper fire hydrants. Or
Well, I think that's in the,
I don't know if I can't remember if I was here or not. I just want to make sure they get proper fire protection
Sure,
compared to
so,
everybody else in the county.
well, so it's up to the fire district and the water district whether or not the water line is adequate to handle a fire hydrant. Sometimes they are not, and depending upon the development, the density of the development, hydrants are not required. I believe we used to take bonds. I think Mr. Van Paris can speak to that more, because we can't force a water district to upgrade their lines. However, that caused an issue. So at this point, we leave it up to the fire district and the water district. If they require fire hydrants and the water is there, then they have to install the fire hydrants.
Okay. And on that note, in the future, I would love to talk about fire protection in Leavenworth County, if we can do that at some point in time.
Sure.
maybe at a work session sometime.
We lack it in southern Leavenworth County big time.
Yeah. Of course, it's going to be availability of water when you're talking about rural water districts. A lot of them just furnish the flow to service the fire hydrants. So that's the thing we've been battling since I've been on this board.
Long time.
So we tried to make it mandatory, but we really can't. Because the water districts won't do it. Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion to approve the agenda? Have a roll call vote. Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Tomorrow.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. Okay. Is there any declarations from anybody? Anybody have to abstain on any issue? Or we're going to hear? Okay, case number DEV 20-062. Application for a special use permit for a child care facility on a tract of land located in the southwest corner, section 9, township 11 south, range 22 east of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, also known as 16928 Evans Road, submitted by the Trinity Family of Faith Lutheran Church. It does require a public hearing. Public hearing is limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before us, we have case number DEV 20-062, special use permit renewal for Trinity Family of Faith Lutheran Church. Special use permit for this child care facility was first granted in 2005 for 5 years. In 2010, their permit was renewed for 10 years. The facility was originally approved for 92 children. In 2014, they increased their capacity to 110 children. They received a new special use permit at that time for 6 years, expiring this year, to accommodate this increase. This facility is located on a paved county collector road, which from a traffic impact perspective is beneficial, considering that it serves a significant number of families in the area. Our office has never received a complaint for this special use permit and recommends approval. The applicant is here and will answer any questions you may have, as will we.
Okay. Any questions of staff?
No. I do. Is there any provisions now for coronavirus and social distancing, particularly? This would be one.
It's going to be, that would be, those requirements are set forth by the state. They would be required to abide by them. Obviously, the county health department has issued some guidelines which are very strongly recommended to be followed. So the daycare should be observing those sorts of guidelines and such.
Has the people applying for this recognized that and said that they would have
Well, they're here, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to answer that question.
Good, okay. Any other questions to staff? Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you get to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? The applicant here?
Guess they didn't come.
The applicant coming by phone.
No, it's my understanding that they indicated they would be here this
They were
evening.
notified and told us they would be here, and they have not. No.
We don't hear them if they're not here.
I'll go see if they're outside.
David, I can do that.
No.
You want me to try to call them?
Yeah, let's try to call them.
You know my network drives won't work, so I can't pull up Skynet.
Does this have Skynet?
They've had them before, so they know.
The application's not.
Well, if you didn't get here 15 minutes before, they came back upstairs. And
They are here. I will want to conditions.
Can you read that stuff?
You need it back up there?
Jared, will you pull that back up? Was there a cell phone number?
Phone number, but I bet you it's the other one. Whose number is it? Are you going to try calling them, or?
Stephanie's doing that right now. Should have called them today.
Okay, well, let's
Do we have a
continue
motion
this.
to table?
Yeah.
Second.
Is there an absolute need to table it? I mean, we've had people here that we've passed before, and they haven't been here.
No, we have not. No special use.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second to table DEV 20-062. We don't need a specific time on this.
Yeah,
because
we do.
We let them decide.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
August 12th, I believe.
August
is-
12th is the next meeting.
Okay, August 12th. Okay, you guys both accept that? Yep. Table DV-20-062 to August 12th. Any discussion? Roll call vote, Terry Bukowski,
Yes.
Mark Denny,
Yes.
Alex DeMauro,
Yes.
Will Smith,
Yes.
Rocky Himpel,
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0 to table. Okay.
All righty.
Case number DEB 20-025, consideration application for special use permit for contractor's yard for Tri-Hall Crane Rental on a tract of land located in the southeast quarter of Section 11, Township 12, Range 20 East, at 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas, also known as 24838 Loring Road. Request submitted by Donna Hull. Requires a public hearing. Public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number DEB-20-025. It's a special use permit request for a contractor's yard for Tri-Hole Rental. Tri-Hole Crane is a crane rental company. They rent out cranes and other heavy equipment to be used on job sites throughout the metropolitan area. Typically, once items have been rented out, they stay at the job site for weeks or maybe even months until the job is done, so they're not coming back and forth every single day. This does help decrease the amount of traffic on Loring Road, which is a gravel road, which should be noted. However, there's still an impact as, like I said, Loring Road is a gravel road, and these are very large trailers that are bringing this equipment in and out. It also causes an increase in noise. However, that increase in noise is not really substantial given that Interstate 70 is located very nearby. And also the area is a very heavily agricultural-based area where we see and hear farm implements and such. There have been some noise complaints regarding this special use permit. However, staff has investigated those noise complaints, and primarily those noise complaints have to do with recreational, and we do not have a noise ordinance in the county, as you all know. So those complaints are not valid as far as the special use permit goes. Currently, the applicant indicates that most of the time when they leave the property, they head west so that they can go out onto 2440, which is, of course, a state highway. They do sometimes head east to go to 222nd Street to go down to I-70. One of the conditions of approval of this would be that all traffic will go west to 2440. It will not travel along Loring Road. I think it's nearly 3 miles to get to 222nd Street. The business employs 5 full-time employees, most of which are immediate family members. The hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and occasionally on Saturdays. The parcel itself is approximately 40 acres in size, and it's used also as a residence and as for agricultural purposes, in addition to the storage of equipment for the crane rental. There isn't any screening or fencing. There is a tree line that runs along the east portion of the property, which helps to screen some of it. However, certainly not everything is screened. We're talking about very large equipment out there. To date, staff is concerned that the applicant may still be living in an RV on the property. I believe the applicant is here and will be able to address that. One of the conditions of approval of this is that the RV be removed and it cannot be lived in. It does not meet the zoning and subdivision regulations. This request meets the requirements for a special use permit. Staff is recommending this be approved for 3 years, given the fact that they were operating without a special use permit for quite some time, and then also the issue with the RV. The applicants are here and will answer any questions you have, as will I.
Any questions of staff?
Have we received an affidavit about moving out of the RV?
That's a requirement. They will have to sign that.
Okay. Any other questions, staff, before we go on? Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you get to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? The applicant? Yes, come to this podium, state your name and address for the record.
Right there.
Oh, sorry. My name is Dustin Hall. Address is 24838 Loring Road, Lawrence, Kansas, 66444.
You have anything to add to the staff report?
I would like to have access to, as long as, we do a lot of agricultural stuff. We do haul a lot of stuff for other, farms, and we also do. So it would be nice to actually be able to make a left out of our driveway and not have an exact time or restriction in which we have to follow. We, in general, do, leave during the daylight hours a lot of times and come home in the daylight hours, but not all jobs are, predictable. Things change, things go wrong. And as far as like a lot of the stuff we do out there, we do have family, and we do a lot of stuff for the community, in which we enjoy. So that's one of the reasons why we like to stay out there. Me and my wife have been in this community for a very long time, and we definitely try to do as much as we can for the community. We've helped out with the parks, doing things free of charge. We go up to Threshing Bee and do things free of charge. We do donate a lot of money for scholarships. We do help kids go to camps. And that's just part of our business plan that we like to share with our community. I'd love to stay out there, and I'd love to still grow my business and be a vital part of this community.
There are 12 requirements that they are requiring, and turning the driveway was an issue, so it's on there. I think they're up on the board there. Have you reviewed all 12 of those conditions?
I don't want to read all those from up here.
They were in the report. The conditions that were in the report
Yeah.
that you got.
Yeah, and that's the conditions in turning. We are getting a larger driveway like they requested. But like I said, we would like to still be able to, because we do work for the winery down the road. So it's kind of hard for us to drive all the way out, turn around, and come all the way back.
With cranes, you do that?
Yes, we go down. We take tractors down there for them. We help mow their fields. We use the cranes to help build their buildings. They do quite a bit of our equipment, and we'd also like to eventually have access to I-70 that way, if at all possible. It's not a deal breaker, but it would be nice to be able to go out that way.
I'm sure there's a reason why that's required, but we can get into it more.
Yeah, the Loring Road, as you know, is a gravel road throughout there. Puts a lot of strain on a gravel road. These are very, very large loads.
Right.
The quicker we can get them off of the county roadway system, the better.
Yeah, right. Any questions of the applicant? Anybody?
Okay, so you're asking that item 5 be taken off here. That's where you're required to turn west to 2440.
I would like for it to be off and any curfew that might be implied on us. But yes, it would be nice to be able to turn left out of there when need to be. Majority of our time, we do want to go to 24, but it is awful nice to actually be able to go left. And now that they're paving that road, it'd be nice to go that way.
How are they paving it, or are they doing dust abatement on it?
It's being paved right now, and it's also being chip and sealed, both at the same time.
Crystal, do you have?
The dust abatement program.
Dust abatement.
Sure.
Okay, that's a lot different. Yeah,
So are you guys just against it when it's gravel, but okay with it once it's done?
This is a recommendation that came from the Public Works Department that the traffic go to 2440. Again, these are very, very large cranes.
They're pretty big.
Well, the dust abatement only really keeps dust out. It really doesn't do much more than...
The dust abatement program now is different than it used to be, and it is more of a hard surface, but it's not like an asphalt surface. It is not the same
Don't
as
tear it up, no way.
Yeah, it's not asphalt.
222nd Street. It is not like that.
Yeah, no, I know.
So the
Step
concern-
up from
from gravel, but that's it. So what the concern is that the road won't handle that traffic.
Yeah, it also, again, it is a significant distance until you get to a road that's more appropriate, and there are several residences, so we're trying to limit the impact on the surrounding property owners. That's part of why we issue special use permits, so that we can put conditions on those that help limit the impact to surrounding property owners.
I had once a crane operator looked to buy a property I had listed, and he didn't want to go on Tonganoxie Road, so he didn't buy it because he couldn't go on, he didn't want to go on Tonganoxie Road and the other county roads, let alone, lesser road than that. And that's why he didn't purchase the property. He didn't think the roads would hold up for his crane operation. Anyway, any other questions of the applicant?
Are you agreeing that number 5 should be removed, or are you just asking?
No, I was just asking. I understand the county's position.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. In favor of this request?
Joe Herring, 16630 Gilman Road. Been to the site just as a business and as a friend, and it seems to operate well in its location. And clarification on dust abatement, it is asphalt. They mill down, I think, 9 inches, I think it was 7 to 9 inches into the existing gravel, and then they overlay it with 2 to 4 inches of asphalt. And I was on the road yesterday or 2 days ago, and they are laying asphalt on the road. So,
I would want to hear from Public Works on that, because I've never known.
The base of the road is not the same as you would do for typical.
That is true.
So they may be laying asphalt on the top, so Joe is correct. However, the insinuation that this is like a typical asphalt-built road like 222nd Street, that is not the same thing.
and I wasn't speaking that you should allow them to go left. That wasn't my deal. It's just that the roads are not just a chemical put down. It is layers of asphalt.
It is a hard surface, but it is the subgrade is not the same.
It's not asphalt, is it?
Yeah, it is not.
It's a mixture, yes. But again, this is not the same as building a roadway to county
Well, I
standards.
didn't think it was.
No, and Mr. Chairman, the foundation is so different. They did 155th Street for us last year, thank goodness, and nearly had to do the whole thing again this summer
Yeah, right.
because the foundation is not
Especially
there.
the first time, first year.
Chairman Rosenbaum.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this
Chairman.
request?
We have some people that I'm going to call for public comment, so if we could just let everybody who's here tonight speak for public comment, whether they're in favor or opposition, then I'll
Okay.
move to because we didn't ask people on the phone if they wanted to speak in favor or
Oh, okay.
opposition. So we're just doing a public comment at one time.
Okay.
And also,
All right.
do you want it to be 3 minutes?
Yes,
Doesn't it?
Yeah, everything has to be 3 minutes,
Okay.
no longer than 3 minutes. Is there anybody here in favor of it wanting to speak? We'll take care of, I'll get started on here. Okay, anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition?
Okay, it looks like I'm about one short. I'm sorry about that.
All good.
We're good.
I'll make this fast here. My name is Ed Urban. I have owned property bordering on the east side of the Hull since January of 2017.
Address, please, sir. Address, your address?
I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
Your address.
13561 246th Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There is no agriculture on the Hulls property. Using tractors to disc and groom a motocross raceway is not agriculture. Neither is having pet horses considered agriculture. There are no crops being grown on the property. There is no hay being baled. There are no other animals. Besides the resident's home, the property is already purely commercial with over 20 acres devoted to a raceway parking and a racetrack. So there's a giant discrepancy between what shows on a county tax roll of 38.46 acres and what is actually occurring on the property. This property does not fit into or conform to the county comprehensive plan. If the land was actually zoned commercial, it would be spot zoning. Why have a comprehensive plan if we're not going to follow it? This is really a zoning issue, and an SUP is not warranted. The SUP is a zoning band-aid. To enact a SUP on land not fitting the current zoning restrictions is placing the cart before the horse. First, the proper zoning must be in place. The county has allowed this property to be basically rogue to the current zoning regulations or restrictions without taking any actions to really address the zoning crisis on this property. To merely exclude the racetrack from their request is inaccurate and does not uphold the oath that they swore to in signing their owner authorization to the county for the SUP. The property owners have told the county that this track was being utilized for family and friends. This racetrack design and build was accomplished with help from folks from Overland Park to meet official racetrack standards. There have been out-of-state people coming up to neighbors looking for the whole racetrack. I have been told there are people that do not even know the hole that are utilizing this racetrack. The way the county is setting this up, it opens the door wide for a wild, wild west here in Leavenworth County. Because I have opposed this racetrack, I am tired of being harassed physically by the holes. One county commissioner told me that I should call the sheriff if this harassment continues. If the county blows this off, there are liability issues for both the property owners and Leavenworth County, not to mention nuisance laws that both the county and property owners could be named in possible further action. I know the county does not have a noise ordinance. It seems funny that many of the SUPs in this county have a noise restriction placed upon them, but none is even mentioned on this property. It seems as though the county picks and chooses various rules for some people and not rules for others. If the county cannot be fair and treat all citizens with the same set of rules, then the county is setting themselves up. The racetrack, and I quote, I'll back up for a second. The racetrack and the businesses are tied together per verbiage straight from Duskin Hall on April 23rd, 2020. He stated, and I quote, "The racetrack is a business sponsorship for Tri-Hulk Crane Rental, and the business is sponsoring over 100 dirt bikes. This ties the two businesses together, and this is the rest of the story that has not been told." And when it comes to buffer zone, the only buffer zone between me and the Hulls is a fence that I erected that's not done yet. There are no trees, there's no hill, there's no nothing, and I'm telling you what, I'm 50% deficient in my hearing, and I can hear all those bikes inside my building. I don't have any other things to say on that. If you have any questions, I'd sure take them, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
My name is Rebecca Swearingen, 24921 Loring Road, 24941 Loring Road, and 25012 Loring Road. Thank you for taking time to listen to me tonight. I'm Rebecca Swearingen, a representative of Silver Summit Farms, a third-generation family farm that has 2 residences and 2 lots on Loring Road, and we consider the Tri-Hole Crane special use permit for a contractor's yard in an agricultural zone a grave threat to our livelihood, community, and farm operation. For over 2 years, we have been questioning the usage of land at 24838 Loring Road. From outdated aerial of Google Maps, you can see a variety of abandoned cars, trucks, and a boat. Note, none of these are consistent or compliant to a crane or construction business. Nor has any agricultural been raised or grown at this property. We don't live across from a contractor's yard. Instead, we have a metal product yard on Loring Road. At Silver Summit Farms, we are very specific in our data for breeding and work hard at raising premium show livestock. Last year, we had over a 30% mortality rate, which is abnormally higher than our last 30 years of breeding. We took multiple livestock animals to the K-State Veterinary Clinic to be tested. This is devastating not only for the loss of an animal, but also a very large monetary loss. From the autopsy reports, we found that because of the increase of lime dust on our road, our sheep were not able to metabolize minerals and feed properly, resulting in their death. This has a direct correlation to the amount of higher traffic on our road and the amount of unclean limestone gravel being laid by the county that has increased significantly over the last couple of years. We also have a major concern from the hazardous waste runoff from the tri-holes. The natural runoff and drainage from the holes property flows into our pasture where our livestock drink and eat. The salvage drop-offs of industrial air conditioning units, the burning of unwanted construction materials, the access of fuel, oil, exhaust, and plain deterioration of abandoned vehicles is a serious concern of ours as we question whether or not it is seeping into our underground water table that most families rely on for drinking water, and what the damage to the soil will have on not just ours but our neighbors' lands. We work hard at preserving our land by participating in annual pasture burns, consistent noxious weed control, and keeping our frontage presentable. A rural real estate agent just valued that our land value has dropped 15% because of the material and material products yard. We fear it will only decrease the entire neighborhood values if Tri-Hole is allowed to continue the business on the road. The entrance onto 2440 is not acceptable. Tri-Hole has already caused multiple almost accidents as the trucks have to swing so far over on the other side to get onto the highway, and the incline is steep, thus making it impossible to have two-way traffic coming on and off Loring Road. The roads currently have no ditches or water runoff. Their driveway is not wide enough for their own semis and cranes. They trespass daily and have destroyed our property line and culvert without a second thought.
Time's up, ma'am. I'm sorry.
And just, Loring Road is half paved and half not
All right.
to the bridge.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? That's here. In opposition. I think we had one letter in the packet, did we, in opposition? Did we all read that, see that? Okay. Okay, you got people on the phone then?
And I need a call.
Go ahead. Remind them to say their name and address and if they're in favor or opposition.
Hi, is this Mary? Mary, this is Stephanie at Leavenworth County. I'm getting ready to put you on speaker. We're at the Planning Commission meeting. Will you please, when I say to or the commissioner says to, give your name and address for the record? Okay, she's on. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
Hi, this is Mary Wilson, 24/728 Loring Road. I'm calling as a representative of the Horn Family Farm Trust, and we are strongly opposed to the special use permit for the Tri-Hole Industrial Crane operation. We had some specific issues. First off is the heavy semi-traffic trailer on rural gravel roads. We see semi-trailers with cranes and other industrial equipment repeatedly drive on and off the property on Loring Road. We're working, not sure it's daily, but it's definitely several times a week. One of the cranes is a very large multi-axle crane. At times, these drivers stop to talk to traffic going the other way, and they block traffic. On Friday evenings, we frequently see or follow a caravan of both semi-trailers with cranes and small pickup trailers driving to that location. As a result of this heavy truck traffic, the gravel road is very, very muddy when it rains. And this isn't just the expected muddy gravel, but really deep, soft mud that's hard to drive through. And then when the weather's dry, the heavy trucks kick up large amounts of dust. And as my neighbors have mentioned, I have real concerns about traffic, because traffic that goes west on Loring Road crosses over a large culvert, and the steep approach to the highway, and it's an angled approach, so it's hard to see coming and going. And traffic going east crosses on I-70 on a one-lane bridge with blind approaches from both directions. So neither direction is safe for heavy semi-trailer traffic. Industrial noise is another problem. We live in the country, so we're used to the sound of tractors and combines. We expect that. But the noise from this crane operation is different. We frequently hear the noise of diesel engines and blaring backup alarms both in the evening and at night on weekdays. This goes past the normal workday of 6 to 5 or whatever. It definitely goes almost till dark and sometimes after dark. And this continues during the day and night on Saturday and Sunday. And this isn't a continuous noise, but these cranes, dozers, backhoes, other equipment operate intermittently at all hours, 7 days a week. And finally, the storage of industrial equipment. The property is an eyesore. Although the buildings and parking are set back from the road, there's only open fields and pastures with no trees or structures to block the view. The industrial equipment is plainly visible from Loring Road. And over the past few years, this has included cranes, heavy semi-trucks and trailers, backhoes, other heavy machinery, and a whole bunch of large industrial air conditioning units. And as Rebecca talked about, I share her concerns about possible runoff. We get our water from a well, as do many of our neighbors. Some of our property, the drainage ditch runs from their place right down onto it, and we're very concerned about what's coming. So these problems altogether have had a negative impact on the neighborhood for several years, and an agricultural and residential area is not appropriate.
Ma'am, sorry, your time is up. All right.
Thank you.
Hi, is this Sarah? Sarah, I'm getting ready to put you on speaker. You're at the Planning Commission meeting to give public comment on Tri-Hole. When I tell you to, give your name and address for the record, please, okay? And you'll have a time limit of 3 minutes.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
My name is Sarah Zumal. I live at 25099 Loring Road. I'm a west neighbor to the Holes, and I oppose their special use permit. I'm a neighbor of the metal and metal product yard of the Holes. My family has owned 500 acres on the other side of the bridge of Loring for 50 plus years. Last year, my husband and I bought what we thought was our dream home off Loring Road with the goal of farming and conservation of the land. However, as soon as we began to move in to our new home, we quickly realized with heavy loads and giant semis rushing down the gravel road that this is no longer a safe place to raise a family. Next to us on Loring are 8 to 10 homes that are no more than 100 yards off the road. As someone who suffers from asthma, the pollution from the large industrial vehicles has become an increasing concern. We fight the dust in our homes daily. The large semi-hauling cranes has caused destruction and erosion on our roads, resulting in the already mentioned widening of the road. and this has caused our home and our ponds to collect the majority of the runoff of the large section of the road. With the runoff ending up in our ponds, we question where the byproducts of the commercial rooftop AC units that are being gutted on their property are being disposed of. Isn't dumping on private property illegal? Do they have proper hazardous waste disposal on the property? Do we need to worry about freon and other hazardous chemicals when growing produce and feed for our livestock? My other concern, second to the non-agricultural related pollution, is the narrow one-lane bridge that crosses over I-70 that is owned by the KTA. It is likely that despite the agreed-upon special use permit terms, that the semis will continue to cross over the bridge to get to various job sites to avoid the sharp turn off of Loring Road onto 2440. Many accidents have resulted due to this narrow bridge. What will happen when a farmer on a tractor meets one of the wide loads at the top of the hard-to-see-over bridge? I believe it's the county's responsibility to work with KTA to either make the bridge adequate for the industrial expansion that the county would be allowing, or to completely remove the bridge altogether. Going west from the Holes property to 2440, as suggested in the permit, is not a good option either. The culvert at the end of the road leads into a deep drop-off of a ditch creek area, and there is no railing. It is a very sharp turn to get out onto 2440, as well as to enter back onto Loring Road coming from 2440. Olson Engineering said they do not need to look more into the use of 2440 due to the limited trips coming from the whole crane operation. If this decision was made based on the inaccurate numbers provided to the county by the business, then the adequacy needs to be reassessed. The trips being made by the equipment and employees is much higher, both in frequency and the numbers of motorists. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim. This is Stephanie at Leavenworth County. I have you here at the Planning Commission meeting. I'm getting ready to put you on speaker to give public comment. You'll have 3 minutes, and when I tell you to, will you please give your address, your name and your address? Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
All right, this is Jim Tingle at 24910 Loring Road, right next to the Halls house. And they've been good neighbors ever since they moved in out here. I've been out here, I bought this ground about 18 years ago. And I've probably been out here for 15 years now. And I haven't had any problems with them. I don't know. So I think some people just like to complain, don't like any changes. But they've been good neighbors, and I haven't had any problems with them. And I enjoy having their business next door. I don't think they make any more noise than probably any other small agricultural business they make. And they've been, like I say, they're good neighbors, easy to get along with. I don't have any problems with it. I don't think their trucks are hard on the road or anything. I think right now the road's telling about as good a shape or better than it's usually in. And it has been for quite a while. So, you know, the road here kind of goes up and down what the channel you got to spend on. And right now I'm surprised it's in as good shape as this for what the county's been spending on it. Like I said, they're good neighbors, I don't have any problems with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Brian, this is Stephanie at Leavenworth County. Okay, I'm going to get ready to take you off speakerphone if you will give your name and your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to give public comment, okay? All right, Brian, go ahead.
Afternoon, Leavenworth Commissioners. My name is Brian Zesker. My wife and I own 24305 Loring Road. We also recently received a special use permit for Z&M Twisted Wines and Winery. I think we own approximately 87 acres. I would like to speak both personally and professionally with the Halls. Professionally, I have used them to come out here and help us with some of the vineyard equipment and also utilizing their cranes. I have also been down to their facility or their homestead there. As a military officer, I understand what the EPA requires. I've actually talked to them because they do have all the proper storage and disposal, and they have somebody come out and move all that. I have witnessed their cranes going up and down the road. I've never seen or I was behind them or in front of them exceed any of the speed limits. It's a gravel road. It takes a lot of usage, not only by residential vehicles, but also by agricultural vehicles. And they are, I would say, a little bit bigger, but they have the same impact that large agricultural vehicles that go up and down there, as well as the semis that aren't theirs that travel that road. Personally, I have seen what they do for the community, not only as a small business, but as they try to give back to the community in their special way. And their special way is their knowledge far exceeds anyone that I have met on heavy equipment operation, small vehicles, and they are willing to help anybody. This family, I think, is a strong community-based small business that adds value to Leavenworth County. And for that point, and those 2 points, I support their special use permit. Is there any questions?
Ready? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's it.
That's it? Okay. Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
Okay, the public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any comments or questions, commissioners?
Yes. Crystal, when I zoomed in on this, it's real clear that there is a racetrack there on the property. But this paper is right, that racetrack is a business. What's the...
You say it is right, it is a business? You know this?
No, I'm saying if this is right.
If this is correct.
It is a business.
All right. I misunderstood.
Yeah. What is planning and zoning's stand on that?
So our code enforcement officer has had many conversations with the Holes regarding this racetrack. They have continued to maintain that it is not a commercial racetrack. They have been willing to sign an affidavit stating that it's not a commercial racetrack. Our appraisers have been out there. They have determined that it's not a commercial racetrack. I understand that they have a lot of people who like to come out and use it. From what I understand, I believe their son races, what am I looking for? Dirt bikes here and such. All we can do is take them at their word on this. Our code enforcement officer, again, has been out there several times. We have done a search of, Facebook and Google and such to try to determine whether or not it appears as though the racetrack is a commercial enterprise. And so far, we've not been able to come up with anything. Again, we've had extensive conversations with the Holes that if it is a commercial racetrack that needs a special use permit, they're obviously going through the special use permit for the crane rental business. So that is the best answer I have to your question. So we've spent a lot of time investigating whether or not it is a commercial racetrack.
Okay, I'm just kind of having a problem that this isn't being zoned as commercial, because I don't see agricultural use on it. How does planning and zoning?
Well, the reason that we have special use permits, as you all know, is that it allows for businesses to take place in areas that are zoned rural residential, which is the vast majority of Leavenworth County. Essentially, every single special use permit that comes before you, it is effectively creating a commercial zoning district on that property. We do this with special use permits every single month. We don't necessarily want to go in and rezone properties from rural residential to commercial, because once they're rezoned commercial, they're zoned commercial. That's different than a special use permit. A special use permit allows commercial uses with conditions, whereas once it's rezoned, it's rezoned.
David, does the county have any responsibility there if it is a racetrack? I mean, we're assuming it's not. They can have friends come over, I know, and race on their property. It sounds like it's, according to what the neighbors say, if that's correct, there's more than just friends coming over. It's more than that. Can the county have any responsibility there?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's a multifaceted question. I'm going to give you a multifaceted answer. In my mind, the fact that the county appraiser's office, although we house them and feed them, they're an adjunct of the State Department of Revenue. If they have gone out there and not classified that as commercial use, then I would suggest there's strong evidence that it is not commercial use. We have had in the past occasions where individuals, I'll use an example of rodeos, of significant number of people, but no admission fee was charged. It was basically an informal event. It was not advertised as, to the general public. It was by invitation. And in those instances, that generally will not rise to a commercial use. I realize that it's inconvenient and causes a burden to the adjoining property owners when a neighbor uses their property in a manner that they don't agree with. And that's just the unfortunate aspect of living next door to neighbors. So I would suggest that the real criteria here is, and I appreciate the report that Bob gave you, the county appraiser has gone out there, and they're not responsible to the county, they're responsible to the state. And if they have applied that criteria to the property and not zoned it commercial, then in all likelihood it does not have the attributes or character of commercial use. The crane hauling certainly is a commercial use, and a special use permit would be appropriate for that use. As far as the other, one of the speakers earlier referenced private nuisance. Any individual can maintain, if they wish, an action claiming that their neighbor's use of their property constitutes a public nuisance. They have that right. And I would suggest that in a perfect world, everyone would work together and come to some magical agreement, but we don't live in that perfect world. We live in a world where property rights are considered, and sometimes those property rights cross into the enjoyment of other persons. And we have to exercise a balancing act. But again, with respect to the commercial interest, I would just state that if the county appraiser's office, and I call it county, I call it the state appraiser's office that resides in Leavenworth County, if they haven't classified it as commercial and they've gone out there, it's probably not commercial.
That was the answer I thought, but I might just verify it. Any other questions or comments?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about the air conditioning units. I mean, I understand this is going to be a crane rental, and we seem to have a lot of air conditioning units out there. Maybe I need an explanation on why you're collecting air conditioning units, because I didn't understand that to be part of the request for special user permit.
So they can definitely come up and answer this more clearly. They do state in their narrative that for a certain business, for certain jobs that they're doing, they store equipment in addition to the cranes. Apparently it's air conditioning units oftentimes, but those are moved off of the property for jobs. Again, I'll let Mr. Hull go into detail further on that. Those are types of uses that are still encompassed with the special use permit for a contractor's yard. That has significantly less impact than the cranes, but it is noted in their narrative that they do occasionally store equipment for jobs.
Sounds like it's commercial. It's not like your house air conditioner. It's probably commercial.
No, the big ones, right, off of the buildings.
Yeah, right. Why don't we have the applicant come up?
Yeah, maybe give me a life expectancy on these things and how long they're there or something, it seems.
As you ask him, we did close the public hearing part, so...
Yes, if you could explain a little bit about the air conditioning units and how long you keep them or how
In
you
general,
determine.
we do get new air conditioner units and hold them until we take them to the job. And sometimes we do bring some back, and we usually cut them up sometimes or get rid of them. We do probably have more than I would normally like to have out there, and I will get rid of them as quick as I can. I did have the last 2 years, we normally do dispose of them very quickly. But we do take all that money, and that money does go, anything we get off that does go to the scholarship for the kids. We have a foundation set up. And we do give kids, like if they want to go to camp or something, we do help them out with the camps. And all that comes from that kind of stuff that's still there. But what happened to me a little over 2.5 years ago, my son was killed. So I spent about that time of the year when we would normally dispose of things, I didn't get it done. My wife this year was in an accident. She was pronounced possibly dead. Thank God she wasn't. I had to take off time for that. I shut what I was normally doing down, my normal business operations, down a little while spending several months in intensive care with my wife to get her to where she's at now. We are in the process now. We have already taken several loads in and started doing stuff already. It will be, any of the old stuff will be gone shortly. But I'm asking for a little leniency on that because I did have the last 2 years of my life turned upside down. But that stuff, anything there that we do with that stuff, all turns to good, like I said, to scholarships. My son has a scholarship in this thing. Kids are allowed to apply for it. It is a scholarship through us. It's not through a school. The scholarships are for, kids that might not be the smartest, kids that want to take a VOTEC school, kids that want to take any type of trade school. We help them out in any possible way. And that's where a lot of that stuff, that extra money comes from. And so that's,
Can you explain the racing for us?
We do have my son race motocross. I don't know if you're familiar with Dalton Hall. He had a very extravagant funeral. There was several hundred people at his funeral. So he was going to go pro. He wanted to go pro. And so he did have a racetrack back there. That racetrack has been there along with my daughter races horses. And we do have a track for her. And the tracks have been there forever.
So they're not, you don't have people coming out to use them?
We do. I mean, if you like to come out, you're more than welcome to come out.
Friends, but you don't charge admission?
We do not charge one dime of admission at all. And for one, if I charge admission, I have to have insurance for it. And so, it's a thing that me and my wife love having out there because we get to stay in touch. with motorcycle communities. We can stay in touch with our horse communities. And it does bring happiness with us when we hear the bikes and we see the friends come out that we've been around for, my son was 18 when he died. And so those people there we have been friends with since, he was probably 3 or 4 years old. My wife does come from a very large family. So it's not uncommon to have a lot of people out there on a birthday or something. Last I checked, I think my wife was like one of 22 cousins on one side of the family. And there's 2 sides of the family. So it's not uncommon to have a large gathering at our place. It's a very good place to have a gathering because it is open. Where versus going into somebody's house in town where there would not be parking. So, do I have any other questions? I don't know if
Thank you, sir. Yeah, any other questions?
When you're just handling those air conditioners, how are you handling the Freon?
Those are all removed. They have to be removed because several of them are commercial. Most of the Freon, oil, and everything are pulled out of the compressors either at the job or they come directly to our facility. The majority of the time they get taken off at the job because Freon is very valuable. So they're not going to give me a system that has Freon in it because they want to reclaim, the contractor does, and put money in their pocket, not mine. But I can't even take them to the scrapyard until I have a certificate saying that the oils have been pulled out of them, the Freon's been pulled out of them. If I have any that don't have it, they're a new unit. And they're a sealed unit, and they're usually with an environmentally friendly Freon. So as far as that, they're as clean as, you can be with them, other than just being, old.
So there's no environmental impact with Freon on site?
No, there's not.
Good. Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments, or I'll entertain a motion?
Yes, I've got one comment, and it's for staff. On item 5, why is the permit for 3 years instead of 5 years? You could enforce that permit the first day from year 1, and you can enforce it till the last day, year 5. I'm really not in favor of issuing 3-year permits. I would like to see 5-year permits and nothing less.
Was that a comment, Mr. Hempel? Or
That was a comment.
Okay.
Addressed to staff.
No question. Okay, yeah, so like I said, they've been operating without a special use permit. There have been a couple of issues on the property. It is not uncommon for us to give a shortened period of time for the first go-round. Hopefully, over the next 3 years, everything works great. They follow the rules, and we come in and their next permit is approved for longer. Certainly, if you don't agree with that condition, you are more than welcome to amend it.
It's something we've done many times on something that's been, this is a big operation.
It's my understanding, but why bring it in front of us in 3 years when you can do the same thing with a 5 year and enforce it any time that you want?
Well, I still think it's best to review it and go over see how they've been doing and everything like that. So,
I agree. First time.
For the first time. Any other comments or questions, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'm going to make a motion, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed special use permit as outlined in case DEV 20-025 be approved, that the findings on the golden factors as set forth in staff report and adopted by Planning Commission and extenuated by facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by the board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be amended as following. Special use permit to be issued for 5 years, not 3 years, and made part of the special use permit, and it's item 1 of the staff report.
So you made a motion for everything is the same except for number 1 is 5 years instead of 3?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, do we have a second? Anybody? Motion dies for lack of a second. Anyone else want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for DEV 20-025 for staff recommendations, keeping it 3 years.
Give it 3 years.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
See, Dave's got it.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to interrupt, but Commissioner Schmidt, would your motion also incorporate by reference the staff report and its findings?
Right. Yes, I said that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr.
Staff report, and it's 1 through 12, was it?
1 through 12.
1 through 12. Okay. Any others? We got a motion and a second to approve case number DEV 20-025, special use permit for contractor yards for tri-hull crane rental with staff recommendations 1 through 12 as written. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Terry Bukowski?
Yes.
Mark Danny?
Yes.
Alex DeMauro?
Yes.
Will Smith?
Yes.
Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holman?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on August 5th, 2020 at 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petition must be signed by owners of 20% of the land area in the notification area. On August 5th, here, if you're for or against, you need to show up. Carry 8-0. Case number DEV 20-075, consideration application for a special use permit for a retail business, Daily Driver LLC, located on a tract of land in the northeast corner of Section 7, Township 9 South, Range 22 East, to 6 p.m., also known as 17858 Michaels Road. Request submitted by Kristen Thompson. Requires a public hearing. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before us, we have case number DEV 20-075, a special use permit for Daily Driver LLC. The applicant intends to use a small barn and the land surrounding it on her mother-in-law's property as a place to sell farming vehicles. The applicant plans on conducting her business largely online and does not anticipate having customers visit often. She plans to sell 5 vehicles in her first year and does not anticipate of sales, as this is the minimum requirement per Kansas regulation. She will not sell more than 15 cars per year, as you can see on condition 3. The applicant will have no employees other than herself. Given the low intensity of the use, as well as the screening from the road offered by the location of the vehicle lot, our office recommends approval of case number DEV 20-075. The applicant is here and will answer any questions you may have, as will we.
Okay. Any questions of staff before we go on?
It's limited to selling a maximum of 15 vehicles a year. How are you going to make sure that happens or doesn't happen more than 15?
Commissioner, so it will be up to the applicant, of course, to abide by this condition. It's the same as we have posted speed limits. Sometimes people speed and they get away with it. I'll tell you that typically people eventually get caught. Many of our special use permits, we put conditions on them. We do check in yearly, check in time to time to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. If people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, their neighbors call. They call very quickly. And then we send our code enforcement officer out there to investigate it. So that is primarily how we ensure that conditions are being met.
So it's kind of an honor system.
Kind of an honor system.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it says Kansas regulations, so I would think it also is more state thing with probably titles.
Commissioner Markowski. Once again, our friends at the State Department of Revenue would have information regarding sales tax revenue with respect to this. So if there were questions, it could be readily discerned.
Thanks, Steve.
Any other questions of staff?
Is this in the City of Leavenworth Urban Growth Management? It's not. Okay. Must be close.
So we don't have any urban growth management agreements in place with any of the cities.
Well, I know we don't have any in place, but we kind of in theory, at least we always used to.
So we do not have any agreements in place.
So we're not doing that. Fair enough. Leavenworth would never respond back anyway, but just curious.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Hi, I'm Kristen Thompson, 3018 North 158th Street, Basehor, Kansas. And I wanted to open my first business and really, try something new. I have a passion to help my community. I grew up in a super, super small town, and my entire family was farmers, and I seen them struggle from time to time buying used farm trucks or farm vehicles, and then they would break down the next month. And so I have 4 kids at home. I just wanted to try something different, start really slow to figure out, if I like the business and really enjoy it. And in order to get my business dealership license, I do have to have a location for vehicles should I have some to store them. Most of my sales I plan to have online, as he stated, so there shouldn't be any traffic in and out that would impact any neighbors or anything like that. So I do ask for consideration.
Will you be selling new or used or what?
My plan is mostly used. I'd like to utilize like the auction market to purchase used vehicles, and then of course my role is to really make sure that they're reliable vehicles, because I've seen that my whole life. I grew up seeing, we buy a used vehicle and then all of a sudden it doesn't work or something goes out, and I think that it's all about trust and honesty and really trying to get that out to the community and help the local farmers in the area.
Have you had a chance to review the conditions of the special use permit? There's 10. They're going to put them up on the board here.
Oh, okay. They're the same conditions that were in the report that Jared sent you.
Those are the 10 conditions there.
Yeah, those are absolutely what we
Okay, you
reviewed
understand them?
before.
Have any questions on
No.
that?
Have you checked to make sure you can get your dealer's license with the state?
Yes, yeah, I've
Before you do
completed.
this, or-
Yes, I've completed all of the different check marks. This is one of the last ones that I have to do to submit the application for the final submission. Yep,
Of course, if she doesn't get it, she can't do it.
absolutely.
Any other questions of the applicant? Do you have anything else, ma'am?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request?
Yes, sir. I'm Shelley Thompson. I'm the property owner. It's my farm, and she's my...
State the address, please.
17858 Michaels Road.
Thank you.
And Kristen is my daughter-in-law. And like she said, we plan on doing most of this online. As far as traffic goes, we have a construction company right next door to me. They're in and out with semis and trucks and trailers every day and equipment. They have employees there where she will be the only employee. So there won't be any employees coming and going up and down the roads or anything like that. It'll be a female-owned business in Leavenworth County. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Does the construction company have a special use permit?
Yeah, they do.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? No
You have
phone?
one phone.
One phone? Well, go for it.
Hi, Larry. This is Stephanie at Leavenworth County. I'm calling to give you your opportunity to make public comment on the special use permit for Daily Driver. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to put you on speakerphone, and when I tell you, will you please give your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes, okay? All right, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Larry Rencher, H-R-E-N-C-H-I-R. I live on Michaels Road, 17675. I'd just like to make a comment about this proposed business. I feel like we don't have enough information to make a decision at this point. What little bit I can glean from it, it seems to me that there's going to be an increase in traffic with cars or farm equipment coming and going, the selling of parts, which is going to mean additional traffic on the roads. Is this going to basically be, a junkyard? We don't know. And for that reason, I just, at this point in time, just don't feel that this is a good idea. I can tell you that our neighbors immediately to the west of us, they are aware of it, and they disagree with it also. And there's also an additional person on 179th Street that also disagrees with it. And basically, that's all at this point. That's all I have time that I have to say.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good day.
You too. That's it.
Phone call. Anybody else wishing to speak before I close the? Okay. Please state your name and address.
I'm Kathy Budke, 27805 179th Street. And my concern is the traffic. We do have the Clevengers, and they have diesels and all kinds of stuff up and down the road. I cannot agree with that, I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm concerned the equipment's going to have to get down there. It's going to be leaving. People are going to come and look at it. So it is going to increase our traffic. And on these gravel roads, we have enough issues with the roads because of the diesels from the other business. So that's my concern. I don't care if she wants to start a business, power to her. I'd back her 100%, but we have to do something with those roads. Thank you.
You. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Heather Wilk. I live at 17851 Michaels Road. I too kind of agree with the guy about needing some more information. If you bring the equipment in, are you repairing them there? Are you parting them out? If somebody does buy them, do they come to the property to pick it up? Are they allowed to come look at the equipment? Are they coming and going, or is it more like a quick bid where you just buy it sight unseen and come pick it up? It is a dead-end road. There's at the top of the hill. We live right next to them. So my concern would be just the upkeep of the road. Currently, if I call to have the road, graveled after it washes, they'll come out, but we are not routinely. It's just a small, probably a block. We don't get the gravel like all the other, the main 179th and the rest of Michaels Road. So that would be my concern, and just if there are specific hours when they run it. So, but I think it's great she, wants to start a business, and I hope, the only concern I would have is to, keep up the property and make sure there's not a whole lot of trash and stuff sitting around. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'm Carl Wilk at 17851 Michaels Road. I am neither for nor against it, so let me state that up front. I came to hear what the more about what was going to take place. The one thing that did cause me some concern was when Mrs. Thompson said that she wanted to make the vehicles reliable. That implies to me that there's going to be some repair work taking place on the property, because there was nothing in anything I read that said the vehicles would be farmed out or the vehicles would stay there for repair. And so that poses a whole host of issues from my perspective, because we live directly south of their property. I was for the proposal until I heard that. As long as the vehicles and equipment were kept in the location that was designated on the application, because that is far enough back off the road that it's not really visible, which helps them protect their equipment because it can't be seen. But if that stuff starts migrating to the front of the property, then I would have some concerns with that. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Ma'am, can you come back up again? I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
You heard some concerns.
Yes.
The first thing I think was brought up, parts. Are you going to be selling parts?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so it's just going to be complete vehicles. Are you going to
Yeah.
be doing any work on these vehicles?
No, I'm not.
None
No.
whatsoever. No repairs whatsoever on these
No.
vehicles.
I'm going to test the vehicles, drive the vehicles. I'm going to utilize my husband as a useful tool to help me to determine if it's something that can be driven. So I'll drive the vehicles for some time, test them. Like I said, it's going to be very minimal because most of my sales will be online. This is really for me to be able to put a couple cars, and like I think it was Carl that said they would be far back enough. I'm not going to have a huge inventory. But this is a starting point for me to be able to start my business.
Okay. So no repairs, no
repairs.
selling, just vehicles that are in good shape, good enough shape to be drivable
Absolutely.
and licensed.
Yes.
How many vehicles do you think you would have at the property at one time?
Well, and you guys mentioned it earlier, part of the regulation to get a dealership license is you have to actually sell 5 within a year.
Right.
So that's my goal. I'm starting very, very small, and I don't anticipate on growing it any larger. I'm very busy with 4 children. I just had a baby about a month ago. So I'm very busy, but I do want to, start something and be able to accomplish something, especially something I'm passionate about. And I care a lot about our community, and you see it all the time. I feel like more now than anything, you see people buy used vehicles and then you see they have the 30-day tag, and if you go down the road, how many of those 30-day tags are on the side of the road? It's because they just bought a car or a truck or whatever it may be that doesn't run anymore because they bought it from someone they can't trust. And so my goal is to try to bring that trust to the community and really try to help people at the end of the day. That's my goal.
So do you think you'd have like no more than 3 at one time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say
Would
I
that
would have
be
any
like
more
that?
than that.
Okay.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments, or I'll entertain a motion?
I've got one question for Crystal. Why didn't we do a traffic impact fee on this?
So
We are updating our traffic impact fee policy. One of the items within our traffic impact fee policy would be that uses which have a very, very minimum impact, which this is one, would not have a traffic impact fee. This would have been one of those ones that are your very, very favorite. It would have been about an $8 traffic impact fee. I think that you have been asking for many, many years now for us to fix that. So
It wouldn't be a meeting if I didn't ask about the traffic impact.
Yeah, we have to have that at least once.
I
agree, I thought that too, but I just figured it was probably so.
Yeah, well, normally we see it, even if it's a small, pretty much ridiculous amount, we still see it in there.
we're doing away with that.
Any other questions or comments, or I will entertain a motion?
Doesn't the county have some, just to ease some of their minds on how many vehicles can just be sitting around when it's then considered a junkyard?
Commissioner DeMauro, if you have 5 or more unlicensed, inoperable vehicles, you are operating a junkyard, and you will get a letter from me. And that's the criteria. If you store metal junk, any junk, to the point it begins to cross the line into being a junkyard, you will hear from planning and zoning staff, and then they will hear from
Is there a period of time she's allowed to have those 5 there? Is it a week, a month, 6
If
months?
they are licensed, or if they're registered and or operable, we don't.
But it's the unlicensed, just junk cars, basically, right?
If they are unlicensed and inoperable. If they're operable, they don't cross the line into consideration.
But what is there a time frame that she can keep those there?
No, she can keep them there as long as she wants.
Well, that's right. Well, that's where I was going with my question of her, is that I'm pretty sure in the past on some of these, we put a limit on the number of cars that she could have at any one time.
I'm sure if they're not selling, she's not renewing.
Well, right, but I mean, if she's okay with 3, it gives some protection to the neighbors and.
Right.
A happy medium for everybody. I personally like
put that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have in the past. Haven't we, Crystal, or am I just?
Yeah, I think that we have before. One of the conditions was that there wouldn't be more than 15 cars sold in a year.
Right, but that she could have
15 at one time.
She could have 15 at one time.
Sure. So if, and just to be clear, that we're not saying she can only sell 3 cars a year. You're saying that she can only have 3 or 5 cars on the property.
Whatever the number is, that would be the number, the maximum number that she would have for sale. But I was just getting, I was
At any
just
given
picking a
time.
number out there for
Right.
her. But I think that would go to helps, kind of what you're saying, Alex, and to kind of keep that down. But
Well, I don't think we should exactly. I mean, if she's allowed to sell 15 vehicles a year, I mean, I think she should be allowed to have 15 vehicles on the property that are registered, licensed, or whatever. But I don't think she should be as. I mean, there's not a big difference in 3 and 5, but it's hard to only have an inventory of 3 vehicles to sell.
when you're only selling 15 a year, but, and she said her goal was 5 the first year.
Well, that's the first year.
I'll still entertain a motion, so.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion. I move that the proposed special use permit as outlined in case DV 20075 be approved, that the findings on the golden factors as set forth in the staff report and adopted by the Planning Commission and substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of the special use permit.
You're leaving everything as the 10 as they are.
Exactly as it is.
I'll second that. We'll second it. Motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 20-075, special use permit for retail business Daily Driver LLC with staff recommendations 1 through 10. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote. Terry Bukowski?
Yes.
Organi?
I would like to see a limit on the vehicles stored at one time, but I'll still vote yes.
Yes. Alex Demaro?
Yes.
Wolf Smith? Yes. Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I think it's small enough business. I don't think at this point in time, in 5 years, it might grow and we can do some other things. But it is passed 5-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on August 5th, 2020 at 9 a.m. at the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by owners of 20% of the land area, notification area. Again, ma'am, August 5th, if you're for or against it, at 9 a.m., same place, right here.
Good luck. I hope you sell 5.
Hope they sell 15.
Yeah.
Case number DEV 18-080, consideration application for a text amendment to amend areas of Article 43, cross-access easement of the Leavenworth County zoning and subdivision regulations, best submitted by planning and zoning staff. It does require a public hearing. Public staff will give you a report.
Why is everyone leaving?
That's what I'm thinking.
The good stuff now.
Alrighty.
Everybody but one.
I'm not leaving.
You're not leaving.
Commissioners, this is case number DEV-20-080. This is a request to amend our zoning and subdivision regulations to add Article 43, which would allow for cross-access easements, which are essentially private roads. You all know this has been a topic that has been discussed many, many times over the last year or so. Staff has had many work sessions with our county commissioners regarding a policy such as this. I did notice one typo in my report. There's probably more than one, but but one that I should definitely pull out is this Section 1 overview. The purpose of this policy, it says is to allow an administrative approval process. It will not be an administrative approval process. These will come through as subdivision plats, which will come before you. So just so you know, I will make that change before this goes to the county commissioners. Essentially, for a cross-access easement, this mask really does not fit my face. For a cross-access easement, it will come through as just any other subdivision in the county with a cross-access easement. It will be required to have a separate, be recorded by separate instrument, We'll have to have a maintenance agreement, be that an HOA, a property owner. The county is not maintaining these. The county will not take them over. They're not the county's to deal with. They are private roads to allow development when developers do not want to build roads to county standards. Again, they will have to, the lots within these cluster developments will be required to meet all of the zoning and subdivision regulations for lot area, lot size. So if it's in a 2.5 acre zoning district, all of the lots within the subdivision will be required to meet all of those requirements. The only difference is that it would be a private road that would not be maintained by the county.
But if they do build them up to par standards, they could be given over to the county.
Potentially.
We'll receive later a thing from a comment from the Lucci. Sorry.
David.
He was speaking about being a cluster development added into it. And that I kind of wondered the same thing. It says for cluster development. Is that the only reason, only way they can have a private road is if the development is a cluster development?
So we wanted to be able to differentiate these from just traditional subdivisions. We want it to be very, very clear that it is a private road inside of there. Certainly, if we don't like the terminology cluster development, that's terminology that neighboring counties use. We can use something else.
Well, a cluster development can have legal roads too, can't they?
Certainly, it could. Cluster development is, yes, it could, if you wanted to build it as a conservation development, which is really what a cluster development, when we're referring to the comprehensive plan, is. It's a conservation subdivision. Again, I'm open to amending the language if we would like to do something other than cluster development.
I think that kind of just clouds it. I mean, to me, then when I read it, you'd have to only cluster development's going to have the private roads. But there will be indications where it would be something different, wouldn't it?
No, like I said, these will be required to meet the zoning.
It's like Bear Lake. It's not a cluster development.
It's not a cluster development, but it could be.
It is a private road.
It has a private road. It could be a cluster development subdivision. You could certainly, if you had the zoning correct, you could have a cluster development that has a cross access easement.
But it's not necessarily. So I'm just thinking, to my thoughts, saying cluster development is saying that private roads are good for cluster developments only. But that's not the case, correct?
Again, so we're looking for terminology that will help differentiate these from just traditional subdivisions. In our comprehensive plan, we talk about cluster development. We could easily change that language in the comprehensive plan to be conservation-style subdivisions so that we would be able to differentiate that way. We can remove the cluster development from this policy. I hesitate to just call them subdivisions. Again, the intention is that it is very, very clear that this is a private road, that the county will not maintain it. That's been one of staff's biggest concerns throughout this entire process, is that there will be an expectation that the county maintains the road. And that expectation should not exist.
I'm not for private roads at all. I'd rather see no private roads than any kind of this clear information going down. Let's put it this way, not clear information going down. Well, that's my comment on that. Any other comments of staff before we go on?
If we're going to do that, and you're going to have the private roads, and you don't like me, call it private road developments. The whole intent of this is to keep the county from having to maintain someone's roads that they put in that weren't up to standard. Yes? No?
The intention is to make it, one, the intention is to allow private roads, which are not currently allowed. The second intention, yes, is to make sure that there is no expectation of maintenance in any way, shape, or form of the county.
But that has to be what's stressed, yeah.
Yes, there should be no expectation that these roads have been built to a county standard. There should be no expectation that the county will come in and grade your road or snowplow your road or any of those things.
But they still have to be subject to a standard where emergency vehicles can get in.
They will have to, the developer will have to submit engineering plans, which have been sealed by an engineer. So the engineer has to be willing to design the road and seal it.
I do have a question. It says only one access point shall be allowed for the development. But if they are going to build it up to, let's say they want to put a private road in, but they're willing to build it to county standards, so maybe down the road, the county can take it over. If there is a way for it to connect to another road, can that somehow be put in there as a possible option?
Not to another county road. We want to limit the number of these accesses that are coming off of county roads. If they want to build a road to county standards, then they should build a road to county standards, and then the county will take it over in the typical process.
So you're saying when a subdivision goes in, you want less access points? Because originally I thought you guys wanted every road to connect.
We're not talking about the same thing here.
Commissioner DeMora, I think the concept is to limit access points for these types of subdivisions that will have private roads that are not up to county standards, so that you don't have persons traveling from a county standard road crossing a non-county standard road, going back onto a county standard road. So that you.
I understand.
So when you mean no true traffic.
I mean, you're going to limit the traffic.
Basically, I'm just saying, wouldn't it be if the county had the capabilities of taking over this road at some point and it could have another connection? But I see what you guys mean by not wanting to use that private. I just understand that.
If that's the case, then you're going to build it to county standards, and the county will take it over as soon as it's accepted. I believe, Commissioners, if I could offer this thought. Mr. Bill Knoll offered this as a solution that Douglas County, correct me if I'm wrong, that Douglas County is using to try to find a good, if there is good middle ground between the desire for developers to build private roads, which, let's face it, the whole intent is to not have to go to the expense of building a road up to county road standards for a subdivision. As a matter of policy, I think the Board of County Commissioners wishes to see this option offered to developers. I believe what your staff is trying to do is to address that policy, or that desired policy, while protecting to the extent possible the county from having to accept at some point in the future substandard roads. And Commissioner Rosenthal, I share with you trepidation on any private roads, because I'll bet you $1 at some point in the future they will be in front of the county asking the county to take it over.
Right. I don't like the idea to even start.
But Mr. Knoll found this plan that Douglas County uses. They believe it's the lesser of two evils, which would be just allowing private roads with the known future risk of the county having to come in and do improvements, and the desire of developers to perhaps proceed with development without building a road up to county standards. I hate to use that phrase, but I call it kind of lesser of two evils.
I have some real concerns with this, because I've been on the Planning Commission now almost 2 years. This comes up like once at least every quarter. We have something like this. And if we consider what we've been listening to today on the other issues, roads have been such an important issue on every one of the things that we've decided on this evening. I'm unconvinced that because Douglas County has found a way to do this, that we need to be even considering this. This morning I spent over 2 hours on the video watching discussions about the fact that we can never stick with our decision making within the county. We always kind of move in one direction or another. I understand private roads are cheaper. I understand it's cheaper for the developer, but in the long run it's more expensive for the taxpayer, because in so many cases they have turned up and said, "What do you mean it's a private road? I didn't know that when I bought my house." Well, you're going to have to put out $10,000 to bring the thing up to standard, and in the end we take it over and we fix the roads. I don't want taxpayer money paying to modify and keep up private roads. I cannot possibly vote for this because some other county's doing it. That's my part.
Okay. Any other comments before we open it up?
Yes, I have a comment. Crystal, did you say that they're still going to present a plat and preliminary and a final plat? And you're going to review the roads?
No, we will not review the roads.
So otherwise, they could make a moat all the way around and set our access as a boat.
So they have to submit road plans that are designed and sealed by an engineer. So if they can find an engineer who is willing to design the road and then seal it, sign it, the county will accept that. Again, the county is accepting no responsibility of maintenance of these. We are not implying that they are being built to any sort of certain standard.
I have a problem with that. I think that I understand the county don't want to take it over, and it's implied, but at the same time, there has to be some standard for that road.
Could you make it where the EMS and fire sign off on these roads?
They're not going to review the road for that.
But if you made it a requirement that they still could have access,
I think this planning commission can certainly,
because Public Works won't be signing off, but
That language could be inserted.
they would have to still give access. Them not getting there and somebody dying would be a pretty big lawsuit against somebody. So that's just a thought.
No, if this, I believe Crystal accurately stated, if this commission wishes to modify this policy, that's why it's before you. And, your expertise and experience is valued. If you suggest changes, they'll be listened to, and certainly staff can provide them to you in the form of a revised proposed amendment.
All right, any comments before I open it up?
But if you put it to standards, is that, I mean, you can do anything from gravel to whatever you
Right,
want.
but if they still have access,
Yeah,
and they
as
agree
long as
that
it's
they
lined
will be able
up.
to use it, then
Anything else? Where we going? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item on law recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? Is there any additional information to be presented?
yes, sir.
The public portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners, or I'll entertain a motion?
Well, do we need to make a motion that be added in there, that the
Well,
road
added
will
in
meet
there,
the
added.
minimum standard for emergency access to be signed off by, who would have to sign off on it?
I believe I can address that in a motion.
Well, why don't you go for it?
And we'll see if I dressed it good enough.
We'll see if it's good enough.
We're waiting with bated breath, right?
I move that the proposed text amendment as outlined in case DEV 20-080 be approved with the condition that the road standards be inserted by the county commissioners. That way we're not delaying it, but they're going to have to put some road standard in there.
And-
Minimum road standard.
Can you elaborate on some of these standards?
Their standards is, they're going to have to determine the standard they want. They're going to have to tell us what standard they want for that road.
Who?
The county commissioners.
They want it, you're going to throw it back on them.
Commissioners,
Well, why
if
don't
I-
we just table it until we get more information?
Well, this way it wouldn't, I believe they'll do the right thing and get the right standard. They'll
Commissioners,
get a standard enough to do
if I
it.
can be just very, very honest with you, I have had work sessions with our Board of County Commissioners until I am blue in the face about standards. So if you have if we send it back to them, they may very well consider standards, but I think that it would be in the best interest to, instead of saying, come up with standards, county commissioners, that you elaborate on what those standards, what you think they should be. And I'm not asking you for very technical standards or anything like that, but I do think that it would be best if we can.
We don't have the technical knowledge sitting here for roads.
Well, but really,
Wouldn't the Public Works be able to come up with the standards? Should they be the
to
ones
Crystal's
come up
point, I
with
mean,
the
that's
standards?
kind of our job.
I mean, we're saying like a hard surface, gravel, right?
Well, we're not
and
saying-
more, of course, but you want a definition there.
David, you wanted to speak, so we'll let
This
you go.
this suggestion, Commissioners, you may wish to consider tabling this matter to your next meeting, and in the interim requesting that the issue of road standards be revisited by county staff and a report presented back to you with respect to any suggested specifications of those standards. From my understanding from Commissioner Spink's comments, emergency vehicle access is certainly a minimum. And I question whether there would be any others. I'm not an engineer, but I'm thinking drainage issues, things of that nature. We have a very good public works department. You could ask them to take a look at it again. This matter has been studied at great length in work sessions, so I think perhaps keeping it in your jurisdiction for another month and asking for some additional staff report to you might be beneficial.
Well, I want some input from Public Works, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And again, I don't still understand why it's called a cluster development, so maybe we can get another terminology for that. Because a cluster development is certain development and can have, county-approved roads as well as non-approved roads, so.
I would request if we do end up tabling this and, as Mr. Van Paris said, take it to Public Works, which I think is an excellent idea, is to have a representative from that office here at our meeting when we discuss this. So specific questions come up, we could ask them those questions.
I'll still entertain a motion because we'll need a motion to table it.
I believe I had a motion, but I'll withdraw that motion, and I'd like to make another motion.
It was a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the proposed text amendment as outlined in case DEV 20-080 be forwarded back to the county commissioners. And the reason I'm asking that is that internal roads, what standards are they to be built to? And that the planning, and that the staff be requested to provide those findings to the Planning Commission at a later date, time, and place. Is that covered, gentlemen? It's only two I got.
You're kicking it back to the county commissioners?
No, it's tabled.
It was never
tabled.
Okay, I'll kick it back to the planning staff.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, why don't we just table it and ask for more information?
Okay.
More information from Public Works on road standards.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, table.
Yes,
to a
that's my
specific
motion.
date.
Table
Specific date, please.
I'll take it.
to August 12th, the next meeting.
Yes, that'd be fine with
Table
me.
to August 12th.
Does that give you enough time, Chris?
Okay, and Wolf, you seconded. Okay, we got a motion on the floor and a second to, and make sure I got this right, to table case number DEV 20-080, the text amendment for cross-access easements, table it to the August 12th meeting with guidance and asking for guidance from Public Works on road standards. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay, everybody understand the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like, before we take the vote, the reason I made the original motion was for the fact that the commissioners could set a road standard and it wouldn't have to come back to us.
Well, you're probably need to come back to us.
That's not their job.
Commissioners, I don't want a formal vote or anything if you're in the middle of a motion. I understand that. But before we leave here today, I would like, when I go back, to be able to tell them whether or not this was, the way that it was presented, how much support there was. And it sounds like there is very, very, very little support. So I want to be able to
I guess.
honestly say
What
that.
do you guys feel about private roads? Again, I guess that's the first question. Do you want them in the allowed in the county or not? I mean, the reasons for a private road is so the developer can not spend as much money. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
It's I don't know another reason for it except for they don't want to spend the money. They want to develop their property as cheap as they can. And all developers want to do that, and if you give them that way out, then they're going to take it whenever they can.
I think you have to specify that it's in the, and you say in the unincorporated areas of Leavenworth County, and And I think you probably need to also say, or the planned development areas.
So I guess let's just go down the row and see what do you feel about private roads? I don't see a necessity for them. I don't think they need it.
I don't like them.
You don't like them either, Rocky?
I'm not fond of them, but I'm not going to rule them out completely. I guess my contention is if the staff is going to review what they do for roads and that, how's the developer going to know what to submit if he don't have a standard to submit to?
Right. Well, you have to have that. Yeah.
I don't like them at all.
Yeah.
I don't like them in subdivisions.
Based on what everyone else is saying, I didn't really have an opinion on it, but I guess.
I think there's a place for them in certain situations. I mean, we're talking way up in the north part of the county, northwest part of the county. Sometimes it's, and I get what everybody's saying about the developer wanting to do it as cheaply as possible, but sometimes we need affordable housing in the county. And you know, if the developer isn't going to pay for those roads out of the kindness of his heart, he's going to pass that on to the homeowner, and it's going to make houses unaffordable for the average person.
They're going to pass it on anyway.
Yes, they will, but that's what I'm saying in certain parts of the county. Now, how you go in and regulate that, I don't know. I don't know if you can. So I'm mostly not in favor of them, but I do think there could be a time and place for those, just to keep housing affordable.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Alex?
Well, I'm kind of split. I don't think they should be in a big subdivision, but like maybe around lakes, where families want to do, you know, maybe some families and friends want to do a little 10 house deal there or something, you know, and across, you know, 160 acres or whatever.
Yeah. The trouble is, Alex, people still sell. I mean, there might be 10 families that want, 10 family members who build houses, but 10 family members aren't going to end up owning those.
Well,
somewhere down the road, there's going to be other people who own it, who aren't family members.
Well, that's just part of, you buy the place. I mean, it's something that,
right. I mean, like you
if
say,
you
buyer
buy it, you
beware.
really understand it.
You're saying like if you had a private lake or something like
Yeah,
that.
like there's a little, up there, there's a bunch of not mobile homes, trailers parked. There's a little lake back there, and I think it'd be nice if they had their own little road in there to drive on, and kind of like to see down in the Ozarks and stuff, you know, private drives.
That's a low bar.
Yeah.
That's not what I meant.
They can be told that it's a private road as much as you can. People will forget about being a private road. And they will.
Well, yeah, and I completely agree with what Jeanette was saying earlier, you know, and that I think it's totally wrong for 10, 20, 30 years down the road and people coming in and expecting the county to come in, and that should not be on the taxpayer at that point in time.
But if it says right here, if it's not built to county standards, we will absolutely not take it over, then
that's only good for the commissioner that's
right
at the time.
Yeah, right. All right, we still got a motion on the floor with the second. We'll have a roll call vote on that. I think you've got a just of us.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
All of us aren't really fond of them. So.
Thank you.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yep.
Wolf Smith. Yes. Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holman.
Yes.
Jeff Speak.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 8-0. The Board of County could, well, no, it was a table, so they're not going to consider it, will they? No. Okay. All right.
Put it in my stack.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.